Okay, so Parshas Kisisa has a lot of exciting things in it. Most prominently is the whole incident with the golden calf, and hopefully we'll have time to get there to look at this powerful story, which, by the way, there's imagery carved. When we go to Mount Sinai, there's a lot of archaeological evidence about worshiping of a calf in the Saudi Arabian desert, and there is a famous rock with a calf carved into it that they're worshiping in the Saudi Arabian desert. I'll try to do a zoom from there to connect with everyone. There is supposedly very good cell service there. But anyway, before we get to that, I want to start with the first few verses, which talk about the census that we have to do. I'll just read the verses from chapter 30, verses 11 through 15. I'd like to share from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and then some beautiful teachings from the Dudai Ruvain, who gathers some beautiful midrashim about this as well. So the first is from first, let me remind you of the verses. It says, God spoke to Moshe, Vaydaber Hashem Moshe Lemor, Ki sisa es rosh b'nei Israel of kudehem. When you count the children of Israel by their numbers, v'nosnu ish kofer nafsho, then each person must give to God a ransom for his soul when they are counted. Well, yeah, b'am negev b'fkodasam, so that there's no plague when they're counted. Generally, the rabbis typically understand that King David had a plague on his people because he counted the people with the census, but he counted them the wrong way. So, by the way, I want to just say, I have to pause here, even though we're going a little bit deviating from what I said. I was going to do from the order which I said, but I have to share with you what the Baal HaTurim says on this verse, because it's very, very powerful. Chapter 30, verse 12, says the Baal HaTurim, V'natnu, and everybody has to give. Baal HaTurim writes, Im tikra'enu im afreya, yeah, gamkin v'natnu. If you read this word backwards, if you read the word v'natnu, if you read it backwards, it's also v'natnu. It's a palindrome. Vav nun taf, nun vav. So you read the word and they shall give, forward and backwards, it's the same word. Forward and backwards, it's spelled the exact same way. So what does that mean? So he tells us, this is to teach you that what a person gives to charity will return to him, and he will not be missing anything at all as a consequence of giving. Whatever you give to charity will be returned to you. That's what the Baal HaTurim says. Look at this powerful idea. It says, whatever you give to charity will be returned to you. So, the footnote here on this Baal HaTurim points out that there's something else noteworthy. Although most words in the Bible have one cantillation sign, one trop, the word v'natnu has two. It has kadma v'azla on the same word, and so this trop, the fact that there are two trops, alludes to the concept that one does not lose out by giving charity. So basically, that's what this is. This is a powerful idea that the trop is kadma, moving forward, and then azla, moving backward, and that's to tell us that the more you give to charity, the more you get back. This is my personal experience, that the more I've given, the more has been returned. And the more one wants to give, the more one gives, the better one feels, and the more and then more one gets back. I've never seen anybody regret having given money to charity. Never in my life have I seen somebody say, "Oh, I wish I hadn't given that money." So that is what the Baal HaTurim tells us. Okay, there's a lot more in the Baal HaTurim, but let me just stay on course, stay on focus, stay the course, because it's too exciting to get stopped by these beautiful Baal HaTurims. So what it says is, Zeh Yinu, everyone shall give kol verap kudim, whoever passes over for the count, machatzita shekel, has to give a half a shekel, v'shekel kodesh, from the holy shekel, esrim geira a shekel, 20 geira to the shekel, machatzita shekel shumal Hashem. Now, why does it say Zeh Yitnu? This you shall give. So Rashi tells us, God showed Moses, Heralo kamin matbea shel esh. God showed Moses the coin that he had to use. Rashi says he showed him a fiery coin, a coin of fire. Okay, so I understand. I mean, of all the things to show Moses, God has to show Moses what money looks like. Why is it so complicated to understand what money looks like? It's not like, I understand there's another midrash says God had to show Moses the menorah. I understand the menorah is a complicated piece of craftsmanship, but a coin? I mean, a coin is not so unusual. I understand God had another thing is God had to show Moses a Rosh Chodesh HaZelach, and this Rosh Chodesh shall be for you. God had to show Moses the moon. Fine, but why does it have to say specifically that God had to show Moses a coin, a fiery coin? So I saw two explanations of this. First, let's look at the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Then after that, we can look at Dudai Ruvain on this beautiful idea. There's this beautiful ideas about this from the Rebbe and the Dudai Ruvain. So let me first read what the Rebbe writes, because the Rebbe is so powerful here. As an introduction to him, let me read the Rebbe's introduction to the coins. It's one paragraph, and then the fiery coin. So God told Moses to count the people when he descended Mount Sinai after Yom Kippur, in order to know how many remained after the plague they suffered for making the golden calf. So the Rebbe is adopting the approach in their translation that this is taking place after Yom Kippur, even though in the Torah it's written before Yom Kippur. The Rebbe is adopting the approach that takes place after Yom Kippur. In both sentences, God told Moses to count the people indirectly by collecting a poll tax, since counting them directly can make God's attribute of justice reconsider whether they deserve to be so numerous. Meaning to say, what's the reason why we count through a proxy? Because if we count directly, it's an ayin hara, and then makes God look at us, and God and then it'll be a question: do we really deserve all these blessings? God told Moses use the silver collected in the first census to make the basis for the tabernacle's planks and the hooks for its pillars. And to use the silver collected in the second census to purchase all the offerings that will be brought that year on the community's behalf. Okay, so why the fiery coin? God instructed the people to donate materials to the tabernacle to atone for their involvement in the incident of the golden calf. So the people were giving the donations to atone for their sin of the golden calf. In this context, the half shekel poll tax is described in this verse as atonement money, because it says, what's it called? It's called in the verse, no, hold on. It's called Kesef HaKippurim. Where's the verse here? To atone for their souls. Moses was perplexed by this notion. Oh, Moses was perplexed by the notion that the soul can be redeemed from such a severe sin by a mere piece of silver. So that's what was bothering Moshe Rabbeinu. He said, you could just pay a little piece of silver and get rid of the sin. Moses was bothered by that. And in fact, the Rebbe writes, since the whole reason the soul needs to be redeemed is because it has succumbed to materiality, how can too much materiality be cured by more materiality? Like, why are we donating money as a way to atone for our sin of materialism? Shouldn't we focus? I mean, I guess on one hand, you can understand we're getting rid of the money. But on the other hand, shouldn't we be focusing on a spiritual response, fasting or prayers or study? So what the Rebbe writes here is just so powerful. Listen, he says, God showed Moses a coin of fire, demonstrating how opposites can become one. Even the physical half shekel can be transformed into fire and thereby redeem the soul. God wanted to show how the money became transferred into fire and thereby redeems the soul. This transformation occurs by virtue of the essence of our souls, which are part of God. The soul's essence never sins, only the superficial aspects. So, and then the Rebbe writes, the lessons embodied in the half shekel applies to all the commandments. If we perform them with vitality and enthusiasm, they become coins of fire. So that's the job, that all of our commandments have to become coins of fire. That's what the Rebbe was saying. So the Rebbe's answer is, why does God show Moses a coin of fire? To remind us that even something simple like giving a coin, if we do it with vitality and enthusiasm, we turn it from a regular coin into a coin of fire. Okay, that's Lubavitcher Rebbe. The Dudai Ruvain, let me just check, make sure nobody has any questions. Okay. The Dudai Ruvain is also bothered by this. And the Dudai Ruvain, as he always does, he has pages and pages of Midrashim. Pages. Okay, well, just pause here for a second and take a question. I see Bruce has a question, or April, hold on.